Meeting to order.
Okay. Good evening. Welcome to the June 14th, 2021 meeting of the Marshfield Planning Board. Tonight's meeting is being recorded by MCTV. The time is now 7:06, so we can begin the
When I'm
meeting.
muted, when I'll start talking, huh?
The members present here tonight are Katie O'Donnell, Fred Monaco, Kevin Cantwell, Dick Papastratus, and I'm Mike Viviano, the chair. Also with us tonight is Greg Guimond, our town planner, and Karen Horn, our assistant town planner. At this time, I'll make a motion that we open tonight's public hearing. Is there a second?
Second, Katie O'Donnell. Aye, Katie O'Donnell.
Fred?
I, Fred Monaco.
Kevin?
Hi, Kevin Cantwell.
Nick?
Nick Papastratus, aye.
And Mike Viviano, aye. So tonight's hearing is open. Looks like we are going to, first item will be DJ Sullivan. This is a continued public hearing. I'll make a motion. Oh, we don't even need to reopen it, do we, Greg?
Nope, we're going to continue to 7:12 without testimony tonight at their request.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we continue the DJ Sullivan special permit public hearing until 7/12, was it?
Yes, July 12th.
Okay, so it's July 12th at 7:05. Is there a second?
Second, Katie O'Donnell. Aye, Katie O'Donnell.
Fred?
Fred Monaco, aye.
Kevin Cantwell, aye.
Nick?
Nick Papastratus, aye.
And Mike Viviano, aye. So that's continued till July 12th. The second one on the agenda tonight is a continued public hearing for Ace Hardware PMUD special permit. So, is there someone here to continue presenting this? Greg?
Yes. Kevin Grady's here to speak.
Thanks, Mike. Kevin Grady for
Okay,
Grady.
go ahead, Kevin.
Kevin Grady for the record, Grady Consulting, representing Mike Veraki, who's also in the audience. Also here with Sean Kelly from Vanas Associates, who did the traffic engineering. We presented our initial site plan review with the board a few weeks ago, special permit, the PMUD, an element plan. We're breaking this. We had a meeting. We got discussion points from the board. We've had peer review comments, and we've made some changes to the plans in response to the comments received. We submitted revised plans and responses to comments to the peer review on Thursday or Friday, I believe. We gave our initial presentation, discussed the zoning and permitting requirements, gave a general layout of the site at our initial meeting, and I just wanted to go over some of the questions and the points of revision that we have done since our last meeting. One of the discussion points that was brought up by Greg in the peer review and probably discussed here, I was missing that at that meeting, was the driveway access to Plain Street Route 139. We had that access at an angle that was greater than 90 degrees. The regulations require us to be within 10 degrees of that. So we modified that entrance so now that it's perpendicular to Plain Street. We also moved the driveway access for Ace Hardware down and to accommodate the 50-foot requirement between the intersections. And it also allowed us to increase the green space between Plain Street and the development. We'd like to break the project into basically, well, it's going to be multiple phases, but initially 2 phases. Phase 1 is the Ace hardware store that has the associated retail outlets with that. Currently, that's the only known construction or purchaser of this PMUD site. As we go forward, we'd have different potential developers, so it's hard to present exactly what's going to be on the other 3 lots. So we projected what those other 3 lots are, and we We have some additional retail and office space for our projections. What we'd like to request the board to do is approve phase one, and then we'll come back when we have known entities, and we can look at,
I have no sound.
we can look at parking,
Hear it.
nitrogen loading, et cetera, and zoning issues, again, once we have known quantities. So, we revised the driveway entrance. One of the other things we did at that intersection was we added a island at the intersection, a raised island. The board and the town planner indicated they had concerns about, even though we're saying it's right in, right out, that signage might not be enough. So what we'd like to do is add a raised berm in there. Probably, we proposed it in details as a sloped berm. That way if emergency vehicles wanted to come in.
I'm just watching it.
have
Floor
trouble.
plans.
Aaron, you're on and we can hear you. Can you please mute? Thank you. Sorry, go ahead.
Thank you. So slope berm, that way emergency vehicles can enter. It's a deterrent. If somebody really wants to take a left there, they're going to, no matter what. So we're gonna try and deter that and make sure we have right in and right out only to the best of the ability. But we also wanna have access for emergency and et cetera. One of the other items that we just recently added, just in our discussions with the town planner and assistant town planner, was the location of green space on this property. I don't know that Greg has a slide for this, so I'll show you on my board here real quick. So this area in here, we're looking to designate as the green space for this PMUD. What we'd like to do is, we're gonna add some detail to this, but we're designating this area works out, meets the area requirements. What we'd like to do is meander some paths through here, maybe some benches. We don't wanna turn it into a lawn, we want this to be a naturalized area, for multiple reasons, but one of the main ones is for nitrogen loading. Grass adds additional nitrogen loading if we were to maintain that and fertilize it, etc. So if we do a naturalized walking paths and green, we think this would be centrally located. It's also located along Plain Street, add additional green space. We think that's a good location, and we will provide more detail on that. One of the items we modified due to nitrogen loading again was we were projecting a potential preschool going here on the lower light colored building there. Preschools have more sewage flow than an office or retail. When we adjusted from preschool to office, we were able to meet the nitrogen loading calculation requirements. So we would like to modify that to office. And then the last item, one of the last major items that we brought up was nitrogen. To meet the nitrogen loading requirements, what we'd like to do is do a nitrogen aggregation plan. Share this with.
Again, I don't have that right.
Okay. We can put it on camera for a minute if you'd like.
Is it on the last one, the sheets?
I don't know if it's-
No, I don't think I did.
Except that I
Oh.
have.
Is that the camera?
Well, that's the
Yeah.
camera for the TV, so it
Okay.
shows there, and then we're gonna have to
So
show.
anyway, that was fun. Like Vanna White.
And then, oh, I was gonna, the other little camera's up there, so.
So those parcels are in control of the applicant, and to offset the nitrogen, as you know, this whole site's in zone 2. To offset the nitrogen loading, we'd like to designate those areas as aggregation lots. So when you combine that area with the locust lot. And the locust lot is marked at the top left corner there of your plan. So that lot is in the same zone 2 as the locust lot. When we add that into our overall nitrogen loading calculation, we meet 5 parts per million on milligrams per liter. I don't know how familiar you are with nitrogen aggregation plants. It's done fairly routinely. We do 1 or 2 a year for developments that are in zone 2s. It's approved through DEP and the Board of Health. And also, in this case, the planning board, as you are the permit granting authority for projects in the Water Resource Protection District, and your peer review consultant will be looking at the mass balance nitrogen loading calculations. And we've had preliminary discussions, and he's in agreement that this is something he agrees will work for meeting the nitrogen loading requirements. So basically, we're adding more land, and we're going to deed restrict that in some form, whether we donate it to the town or do a conservation restriction. Our preference would be to donate it to the town. Conservation restrictions are difficult to sell, basically. If you notice, I wrote on there that the town owns an abutting parcel. So if we were to donate this to the town's control and deed restrict it, that it's a nitrogen credit land, which is a fairly common item, then it will be in control of the town, and it will also offset our nitrogen loading in this location. So I think those were the main items of discussion. We want to have this meeting tonight to get more feedback from the board. We want to address any comments from the board, or the peer review, or the town planner, and be ready to go at the next hearing, if that is possible. So I'll be happy to take any questions.
Okay.
That's the VHB guy.
He is here.
Great, are we here?
If you'd like, if you have questions, or you'd like to have him do a presentation on traffic impact.
We might as well have them do a quick presentation on the traffic impact, and that way they have all the different pieces.
Sure. Sean, can you, are you there? Can you discuss the traffic for a moment?
He's on.
Yeah, no problem. Is it possible to do a screen share? Is that?
Hold on 1 second, Sean.
Sure.
Sean Kelly?
Yes.
Good evening, members of the board. Again, Sean Kelly with Vanassa Associates. If it pleases the board, what I'll do is just do a brief presentation on the traffic study we conducted, what our findings were, and what our recommendations are. I do have a short PowerPoint that I'll try to share. Everyone see that?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, so I think we're all probably familiar with the project site. We're on the south side of Route 139. Signalized access located immediately to the west at Enterprise Drive opposite Fox Run. The project that's before you tonight is phase 1 of the development, which is about 22,600 square feet of commercial space, the bulk of which 15,400 is a hardware store, and the rest of it general retail. We did a study in accordance with all state and industry guidelines. We went out and looked at traffic conditions as they are today. We haven't been collecting new data in terms of counts because the influence of COVID, a lot of the volumes are lower than they typically would be. So we were actually able to use some of the volumes collected as part of the recent dispensary project further west on 139, and some of the volumes that were collected in terms of the other development further into enterprise and proprietors. Looked at the morning and the evening, which are really the busiest hours of traffic due to commuter traffic flows. And we adjusted the volumes that we looked at up to account for growth in traffic in the next several years based on what's in front of the town. With respect to the project itself, it's not what we call a major generator. The hardware store during the morning peak hour does a little less than 20 trips. evening peak hour about 40. You know, the retail space, you know, again, it's not a large amount of space. Does about a little under 10 trips in the morning and a little under 30 in the evening. Not all of these trips are what we call new trips. You know, a lot of this is what we call pass-by traffic that's already on 139 that would, you know, stop at the site, but it wouldn't be a new trip to the corridor. And you know, we've conservatively estimated that at 25%. Typically, the volume's a little bit higher. So when you account for all that, you know, what we're really looking at in terms of new trips is about, you know, 18 trips during that morning peak hour. So it's a little less than, you know, one trip every 3 minutes. And then evening peak hour is about 50 trips. So we're talking about, you know, one vehicle coming or going, a little less than one per minute. Looked at the impacts. First, we looked at the safety characteristics. None of the intersections in the study area were what we call high crash locations. They all exhibited crash rates that were below the state average. Again, during the busy hours of road traffic, the project does about 18 to 50 trips, which is a fairly low increase compared to what's out there today. Looked at the impact of traffic on operations and signals, particularly Enterprise Drive, and again, there's enough capacity there to accommodate the increases, although we have made some commitments to look at that intersection in the future. Our recommendations really, you know, are focused mostly on site access, you know, ensuring that the site design is done in a way that meets all applicable MUTCD design criteria with respect to, you know, geometry, pavement markings, signage, you know, center lines, stop bars, things of that nature. And again, as Kevin pointed out, there are plans to have a full access drive onto Enterprise Drive, which will give you access to the signal at 139, and then a limited right-in, right-out driveway with a raised median further east, which would, you know, accommodate the lower levels of traffic, only inbound rights and outbound rights. The access will need to be reviewed by Mass DOT as they have jurisdiction, but we have had some preliminary discussions with them, and they seem on board with the proposed design as currently designed. Landscaping and signage should be, you know, located in such a way that we don't obstruct any sight lines. The sight lines out there today are great, and certainly the plan is to keep it that way post-development. We've agreed to monitor and optimize traffic operations at Enterprise Drive. And so what this means is that, you know, post-development, when the traffic with these particular uses is in place, we'll look at the volumes there again, identify whether there's any need to do some minor signal tweaks, you know, giving a little more time to Enterprise or you know, other moves that may need it. But what we've shown is that the increase of this project is typically in the order of about, you know, 1 second of additional delay at that location. And then lastly, you know, is to implement the TEM plan. You know, I know that there is bus service in the area, and we recommend that a welcome packet be given to all employees. You know, giving them information relative to the public transportation options that they have, you know, to get to and from the site. And in conjunction with that, you know, certainly building up the pedestrian infrastructure so that there's internal sidewalks that lead to Enterprise, that lead to 139 to the bus stop that's there today. And that's really our study in a nutshell. Again, you know, it's the phase one impacts really aren't, you know, a whole lot of volume. It's less than a car a minute, even in the busiest evening peak, and the morning is lower. You know, there's no safety issues, and we've made some recommendations that we think will ensure the access works, and then also allow us to take a look at the impacts on Enterprise post-development and make any changes that, you know, might be warranted to make that signal work as well as it can. That's really all I have. Be happy to answer any questions members of the board might have.
Okay, thank you, Sean.
Mike, I have a question for Sean.
Okay, go ahead, Greg.
So just to clarify, the traffic study that you provided is just for the hardware store, not all the uses in all the buildings?
We did do a phase two analysis as part of the study, but we basically, the text of the report says that this report's really aimed at the phase one impacts, but we did look at phase two as well, and that actually was when it had a daycare, which now I believe is being converted to office space. And what it showed is that we could still make the, you know, the signalized intersection work. We would take a little bit more signal timing optimization, more green time onto Enterprise, but we did take a look at that. But quite frankly, the purpose of the study was to ensure that the phase one worked, and kind of just did a long-term planning look at phase two, just to ensure nothing, you know, geometric would need to be done to let that phase move forward as well.
So understand that the board and its findings and stuff will have to find that the overall traffic impacts are something that can be resolved. So it can't just be phase one information that they're going to need.
Right. No. I mean, it's in there, and really what our focus was is there a need to add another lane onto Enterprise? And what we found was that, based on the volumes that we were projecting, even for the phase two, that it wouldn't be needed. I mean, we do recognize that there's other land on the western side of Enterprise, and if that gets developed, there may down the line, be a need to have another lane there. But purely as far as this project goes, phase one and phase two, we weren't showing that says something that had to be done, to accommodate this project.
And we do have a second Modera coming with 250 to 300 more residential units up the road. Were you aware of that?
We've accounted for all of that. I mean, we did that work, and we built off of all the analysis that we've done for that. So the traffic that puts out, whether it was through Enterprise or proprietors, we've incorporated that into the analysis of future conditions.
Sean, do you happen to have the phase two trip generation numbers available or handy, or is that something we need to produce for these guys for follow-up?
Yeah, let me see if I can pull it up.
And no problem if it's not available, we can.
And Mike, Mike, in the meanwhile, Cape Way I has a question. I care.
Okay, Cape Way, do you have a question? Just need your name and address.
You'll have to unmute yourself.
Can you hear us?
Yes.
We get you now.
We have specific questions regarding our property in the project, and when this is all new to us, how this.
All right, can you just start with your name and address, please?
Oh, sure. Jamie Galugan, 709 Plain Street here in Marshfield.
Okay, what questions do you have?
When they cleared the lot behind us, they left some rather large pine trees untouched. And I'm not sure if they're on our property or their property, but a concern I have is we no longer have all the trees behind it as a wind breakage. And we've already had trees fall over in the past years, luckily missing the building from high winds and winter storms. Are they going to remove these trees? Are they going to tell if they're on our property? Do I have to hire, a surveyor myself to find out where my property line is? I don't know what's going to happen with these trees. I'd like them removed, but they scare the hell out of me. And are they going to put fences up behind the property line to keep people from cutting through from the street to get to their facilities rather than walking all the way down to their entrances?
The engineer there from Merrill, I'm sorry, I forgot your name.
Sean.
Tom,
Oh,
can you answer if those are his trees or
That's
yours?
Kevin.
oh.
That's Kevin.
Sean will need to stop sharing for a minute so Kevin can.
So I can't answer, I would have to locate those trees individually. We're showing a tree line right now. So I'm not sure.
Can, maybe it's possible for Cape Way and Sean to talk about this, on their own about trees over there. So they'll out of the side of the scope for a wastewater protection hearing.
And then the concern I have is also, when they grade this whole thing, are they going to flood our parking lot when it rains? And what guarantee do I have we're not going to have a water problem once they develop their property as well?
So that's a good question for Merrill, and they can answer that.
So, Kevin Grady, Grady Consulting, for the record. We did look at drainage for the entire property, including the properties along 139 Plain Street that abut our property. And we are bringing in fill onto our property to construct the site. However, we've proposed a head wall and outlet pipe at the low point that will bring water that's running off your property currently into our drainage system and down gradient. So we've taken a look at that and we will not cause flooding on your property. As far as people cutting through your property,
Hey, Jack. Hey, Jack.
Paul,
Hey,
can you,
Jack.
Paul Gallagher, could you mute yourself?
Can you come down here?
Paul Gallagher? Hey, Paul Gallagher? Paul Gallagher? All right, well, we gave up for a minute.
so as far as people cutting through
Can
your
you
property,
just, make this thing work? I mean, I don't want to
No?
listen to my mom.
Hey, Paul Gallagher, can you hear me?
Greg, you might have.
Paul
to turn
Gallagher.
your mute
I'm looking, but I don't see him on the participant list here.
Yeah, he's popping up. Paul Gallagher, can you hear us?
Yes, thank you.
Hey, Paul Gallagher, can you hear us?
Yes, I can now. Thank you.
Yeah, you need to mute because we can hear everything you're saying and you're interrupting the meeting.
And Laura, I cannot mute everybody right now because I'm a one-third co-host.
All right.
So I'll keep going. Just one quick thing about people cutting through. We are providing a series of walkways. The entire site is accessible by walkways. We can't stop everybody from cutting through adjacent properties.
You wanted to say something about the metro?
Oh, and for the board, one of the considerations that we're requesting, should you approve the project, is that we approve the project for phase 1 prior to the aggregation plan being completed. The aggregation plan will need to be in effect for phase 2, 3, 4, etc. We do not need it for phase 1 because we can use our entire property in the nitrogen calculation. When we use our property in just the one phase 1 project, we meet the nitrogen loading requirements. So we would not be able to go to phase 2 until we had the aggregation plan completed and in place. It takes a while to permit that. So we're requesting that if you approve this, that phase 1 can go forward, but we need to start implementing our aggregation plan to be able to get to phase 2. And we've provided calculations to your peer review consultant to demonstrate compliance.
Thank you.
Mike, we had a chat, and it was a request from Cape Way Eye Care. They've given us our email address to give to the applicant's engineer so they can contact them, so I just did so.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Does the board have any questions? Craig, is Pat weighing in on this at all?
Well, Pat is here. Where's Pat?
Okay, Pat, do you have any comments at this time?
Yeah, just a couple of quick comments. Pat Brennan with Amory Engineers, the board's consultant engineer. As Kevin had mentioned, they just submitted the revised documents on Friday, so I did go through them quickly, but I haven't gone through them in great detail. A couple of questions that I had in my original letter that I had sent, that was dated May 17th. I think it was noted in the first hearing, the roads that they're proposing, they're basically driveways. There's no right-of-ways for them. They cut across lots and so forth. So I'm not sure if they're planning on incorporating those into easements or how that's going to play out in the future. You know, their response was that they were going to have an owners association responsible for maintenance and infrastructure upkeep, and things like that. But you know, legally, I just don't know how that works if they're not within easements. How that all, you know, those shared roadways work out. So that was one of my questions that was still kind of
Can I address that a little bit, Pat? If we just look at the mall across the street, there is a driveway that cuts in front of all of those buildings that they're all accessing, and there's no easement on that driveway. I'm not sure why there needs to be. I think it's a prescriptive easement that we're inviting you to shop at Ace Hardware and you can use our driveway. We're responsible for the maintenance. If the town wants to take the road and maintain it, I mean, that's an option, but it's not really what we were looking at here. We were looking at keeping control of the entire property, including the main access driveway, which leads you to the various elements. We can,
How do we deal with the condo developments?
The condos are a single parcel. This is 4 separate parcels.
But isn't it getting merged into one when we do the A&R?
No, it's one now. It's going to be 4 separate parcels.
Oh, okay.
So who would the easement be to, amongst themselves? If they have a homeowners association agreement or a condo association agreement, that's essentially an easement document. And we can draw a line on the plan and call it an easement. We have no issue with that.
So, Mike,
Yeah, I mean,
Mike, one other thing on this, the Proprietor's Drive currently has 4 different owners, and we've had multiple problems with maintenance, et cetera, with the road, lights, sidewalks, et cetera, which is kind of why we had brought that up about the right-of-way and how we were going to try to progress with this. I understand the easements, they have drainage lines that are going all over the place as well. So that's kind of, I'm in agreement with Pat as this was something that we wanted to get resolved.
Okay, so it sounds like Sean's proposing they can draw lines and easements on it. Would that resolve this?
Well, so if we incorporate, again, Kevin Grady, Grady Consulting.
No, it's not Sean?
Sean's the traffic engineer.
It's not Tom. Okay.
So we can do an easement over if we incorporate the drainage, as Greg says, it covers the majority of the lot. It does look like it's all over the place. We would basically draw an easement of the entire property. We could do a few easements where we make a corridor around the driveway, and I guess that easement would be to who? The town, who would maintain it if the owners association wasn't maintaining it? Or is it amongst each other? How does that work?
So in subdivisions and stuff, typically what happens if homeowners association fails, the developer goes away, the town is the one that's gonna have to go in and do improvements and would need the easements in order to get in and do any kind of improvements.
So we would be happy to prepare an easement in that capacity, for sure.
That would
We'll
be the
probably
way to
just-
go, Greg?
We would do a written easement for the entire property though, because the way it's spider webs
It's,
all
yeah,
over.
it's literally all over the place,
It's all
so
over the
that's,
place, So we can prepare a written easement. I think it would be recorded at the registry and as an easement document, but there's also a homeowners association that they probably overlap. We can get that done.
Greg, that works for you?
I'll have to check with DPW because they're the ones that would have to go in and do it, so I think when they
Okay.
see the complexity, they may have some concerns.
All right, well, we can work through that stuff. Any other questions from you, Greg?
Well, talking with Mike and Kevin last week, we were expecting to probably continue this to the next meeting because we knew that there were going to be some things that had to be worked out, which is 6/28. But there are a couple of main issues for the board that directly relate to the hardware store and directly relate to the zoning. One of them is the access to Plain Street, 139. Staff feels that it's clear that it's supposed to be at signalized intersections. We have the 2 signalized intersections. We have been telling other businesses, Roach Brothers, the Harbor One Bank, et cetera, that they could not have separate driveways onto 139. That is something that they wanted to discuss with you. It is an issue. Our feeling is that the bylaw is pretty clear and it may require them to go to the Board of Appeals, possibly if the board doesn't, agree with their arguments. I don't know if they want to get into that part right now or hold off for the next meeting. The second is the hardware store itself, the hazardous materials, fertilizers, oils, paints, et cetera, that are typical with a hardware store are definitely going to be in excess of a typical household quantities and stuff. And that's, again, just one more thing being placed in the aquifer that we've already had contamination and wells that had to have special filters put on them and stuff, and we're down, Furnace Street is our main wells. So that, again, is a main point on the board. How are you going to move forward on that particular point? Both of these have an impact on whether or not a hardware store comes in. The applicants have made that clear. We are aware of that, but we feel that most of the other things we think can be worked out, but these two things are critical to the special permit request.
Is there any way to allow them to have those hazardous materials and still contain them somehow? Is there workarounds for that?
There are pallets and stuff that we've used in other cases. Again, I think it's the quantities. Some of this stuff is stuff that's placed outside in like an open storage area. In their particular renderings, they showed sort of a roof on top of one of the areas where I believe they would store some of the materials and stuff. Typically what we try to do is minimize the amount and then have it in special containments, and then also have the floors and stuff sealed that there could be no spillage or leakage. I don't know if that's possible in this case, and again, I think the amounts are going to be probably the problem.
So I think we could
Okay.
work with Greg on what the amounts are and what the materials are. And if there's any specific ones that, like the fertilizer, for example, if we could condition it that they're stored inside, spillage would be on a floor, in the interior, and not exposed to the elements. As we've put in our letter, fertilizers have changed over the last 20 years. That they're basically low nitrate and low phosphorus fertilizers. So it's not as heavy duty fertilizers that we used to use. So maybe we could work on those details a little bit more, where, and we did break down the numbers and percentages, but maybe we can work a little more on quantities and where it would be located in the building.
Yeah, I think before we get into discussion, if we're going to allow it or not, we have to know what we are potentially allowing and how you plan to contain them, so that can't be an issue. So if we could have that for the next meeting, that'd be very helpful.
And I would guess that the fertilizers and automotive items are particularly in question. Maybe the paint is mostly latex now. Everything else is hand tools, electric supplies that wouldn't really have any impact on the Water Resource Protection District. So it's probably those two main items that we will work out. We did put in
Chris, do you know if
spill
paints
kits,
are
etc.
of a concern?
What, Mike? Sorry.
Do you know if paints are a concern?
Yes, there are some things in paints that are concerned, similar to the project we continued earlier tonight. I would have them work with Ed Eilert as well.
Okay, so maybe at the next meeting, we can have some kind of update on that, and we can figure out what your plan will be.
I think that would be more consistent with what we're doing with other permits in the same area.
Yep.
If I can ask, I'm just trying to visualize the in and out access that you're talking about. And I can see like the right in and the right out, you know, when you're coming from the west. But for folks who are coming from the east, what's that going to look like? Because I'm worried that they're going to try to pull in there as well.
Certainly, there will be signage, do not enter. So those ones are bright red signs. So as if you're going west, you would continue up to Enterprise Drive. I suppose we could add an additional signage that says entrance, westbound entrance.
Yeah, because
You
I'm
know,
just thinking people are going to see it and they're going to be like, there it is, how do I get in?
Westbound entry
And
at the signal.
Turning lane here, like there is, you know, no turning lane.
yeah, I'm,
Okay, Gary, you want to talk decelerating? They can be very.
Not necessarily.
yeah, I mean, I just,
So, I understand your concern, that we're having them do not enter, so the next thing that would happen is that they would go up to the light and probably get a red light like the rest of us, and probably hopefully see a left-hand turn lane and go in that way.
Flip around.
Yeah. We could add additional signage below the do not enter. It says westbound entry at Enterprise Drive or something.
Yeah, because I'm trying to,
That would be really big. I mean, you can see I travel that frequently every day, and people come barreling out of from the lake.
Yeah.
and because we're looking at like phase 1 right now of the number of trips that's the number of trips for the hardware store. But presumably is, once you go into the other phases, that access will still be there, and then all of those other units, people will be using those as well.
So I think the office use, they would know where to go after day 1, so they wouldn't have issues. I suppose some of if their offices where they have a lot of customers, which I'm not sure that, I think the majority of the drivers are gonna be regular people. It's the retail that I would think you would have an issue. And it's mostly office on it's 2/3 office on the other parts. So I think we could deal with that with some signage, but I understand your concern. Do not enter is definitely going to be loud.
Yeah, and there's a limit to how big the signs can be too, so you gotta.
Yeah, it has to meet DOT
Right.
standards.
Oh, yeah, there's
I mean, I try not to underestimate,
the volume of this.
Oh, we can come
and to be honest, the stupid things that people can do.
Yeah.
Like, I just, you see them every day on 139,
Oh,
so
yeah.
I'm just trying to think.
All you have to do is drive.
So I think I think I skipped over Pat a little bit. I'm not sure if Pat was finished. If Pat Brennan come back on, just let me know if he was not.
No, I have some other, I mean, I think they have addressed the majority of the comments that I originally had. There's some other things still outstanding that I think I'll contact Kevin this week and get together with him and try to get those resolved, so I can get something to you in writing for a letter saying that whether or not my issues have been fully addressed.
That'd be great. Thank you, Pat.
I will track you down, Pat.
All right, so we're going to go back to the board. Is there any other questions for any board members before I go to the public?
Yeah, Mike, this is Nick. Question I had on the site plan that's up here, the intersection of Road A and Road B, with respect to that southern entrance to phase 1, the southern parking lot entrance, is that, I guess, the alignment of it with hold on, let me move back up here. Sorry, I just see it up on my screen now. Is there an issue that the intersection between Road A and Road B doesn't align with that entrance into, I guess, the proposed hardware store parking lot? I mean, typically you would have, I guess, orthogonal intersection four-way, and here you have that offset. I'm just curious if that makes for an awkward intersection, and people are coming down Road A to turn into the parking lot there for phase 1.
So we did look at that.
Do you follow me on that one?
Yep. It's not a high-speed roadway. We did design it to meet your roadway standards. It's, it's intended to be a driveway. It's built to roadway standards. It's low speed. I don't think there's a major conflict there. If the board feels otherwise, we'd probably move that road down, but I think the majority of people are going to go left. You're gonna, we're gonna turn them down to the right and elongate their exit down up Road B. They're both stop controlled, so they'll both be stopped at that location. You do not have high speed vehicles going north on Road B that would create the conflict. Maybe the traffic engineer might be able to speak to that as well, but
Yeah, no, I would echo that. These are very low volumes. I mean, the hardware store is doing less than a car a minute, so it's not a real high volume in terms of conflicts and what have you. And certainly the retail below isn't that much of a generator either.
Okay, does that address your concern, Nick?
Yeah, thanks.
Okay. Any other questions, Nick, or anyone else on the board? All right,
Mike,
seeing none,
Mike,
go ahead, Greg.
We got a question from Laura Brait. She said, isn't that the same type of entrance that's next to the AutoZone, next to Walgreens?
Yes, it's just like that.
Good question.
Laura, do you have a question you want to come on at all, or are you just pointing that out? All right, so at this time, is there anyone from the public that has any questions? If you do, just please state your name and address, and now is the time. All right, Greg, what's the continuance date?
6/28 at the moment.
All right, are we ready to continue, Greg? Do you have any other things to add or ask?
No, I think we've aired everything out.
Okay, so at this time, I'm going to make a motion that we continue this public hearing until 6/28/21 at 7:05 PM. Is there a second?
Second, Katie O'Donnell. Aye, Katie O'Donnell.
Fred?
Fred Monaco, aye.
Kevin?
Kevin Cantwell, aye.
Nick?
Nick Papastratus, aye.
And Mike Viviano, aye. So that is continued until 6/28. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Are we going to continue the A&R again?
Yes.
Yes, they've given us an extension for the A&R.
Okay, so I'm going to make a motion that we continue the A&R plan until 6/28 at 7:05. Is there a second?
Do we have to?
You might as well.
Okay, second, Katie O'Donnell. Aye, Katie O'Donnell.
Aye, Fred Monaco.
Fred?
Aye, Kevin
Kevin.
Cantwell.
Nick?
Nick Papastratus, aye.
And Mike Viviano, aye. So that's also continued until 6/28. Next on the agenda
Good night.
Is Beaver Crossing, Frozen 4.
Frozen 4. Is this continued or
No, it's a new.
New public
you
hearing.
want
Steve
to? All right, so I'll
Gard
make a motion
Steve Gard will be the representative for the applicant.
that, okay, thank you. I'm going to make a motion that we open the public hearing for Beaver Crossing, for Frozen 4 at 985 Plain Street, WRPD, and waive the reading of the notice. Is there a second?
Second, Katie O'Donnell. Aye, Katie O'Donnell.
Sorry.
Aye, Fred Monaco.
Kevin?
Kevin, aye. Cantwell, aye.
Nick?
Nick Papastratus, aye.
And Mike Viviano, aye. All right, Steve, you're up.
Thanks, Mike. For the record, Attorney Steve Gard for Frozen 4. With me this evening is Deb Keller from Merrill Engineering and Ben Berger from Frozen 4. Mike, your motion mentioned only the WRPD special permit, but before you this evening is also an application to amend the existing site plan approval. If you might need to add that to your motion as far as opening the public hearing for that issue, unless we're going to do one of these at a time, I would ask that we do them together because they are intimately intertwined.
Greg, is that okay? I just don't see it on the agenda. Is it the way it was advertised for that?
We'd have to get the public hearing notice. 1 second.
It's listed that way on the agenda, so I think it's,
I think
On the agenda, I see WRPT special permit.
It is,
Modification public hearing.
this is normal.
oh, you're right, Mike. I thought it also said site plan.
Yeah, it doesn't say
Greg, what was
It
your,
doesn't
what did you
say,
say?
it doesn't say site plan on the agenda, but under the zoning bylaw now, when you have a special permit, the planning board would also do the site plan.
All right, so do we need to modify our motion at all?
So why don't you modify it to add the site plan into it?
Okay, I'll make a modification to the motion to include the site plan. Is there a second to modify that?
Second, Katie O'Donnell. Aye, Katie O'Donnell.
Aye, Fred Monaco.
Kevin?
Aye, Kevin Cantwell.
Nick?
Nick Papastratus, aye.
And Mike Viviano, aye. Okay, Steve, go ahead.
Thank you very much, folks, for that clarification. So this is a unique situation in that this is a site plan that was approved by the Zoning Board of Appeals previously, as I think we all know. but because of the change in the zoning bylaw for the planning board's permit granting authority, subject matter jurisdiction includes site plan approval when there is an application for a WRPD. I suggest this may be the first one of its kind, but I would defer to Greg. Greg and I did talk about this in advance, so you will have the authority and the jurisdiction at this time to modify the existing approved site plan, even though it was approved by the zoning board of appeals. Before you is a letter. I think that the best way to summarize what we're doing, what we're asking you to approve, is a letter from Deb Keller of Merrill Engineering dated May. Forgive me, pull it up here. Yeah. Okay.
Steve, I made Deb co-host. Do you need to be a co-host as well?
Yeah, that would be great, Greg, if you have Deb do it as well. That would be helpful.
All right, so you both are co-hosts now if you want to screen share.
Awesome. So this letter is basically it's a reduction of the property area to allow for the new road connection from Lone Street across to the contemplated signalized intersection at Plain and School Street. For that to take place, we are going to have to come back before you for a full-blown subdivision plan that will actually divide our property by adding that Lone Street connector and then reconfiguring the Martin land to allow for that property to also connect to the signal. But that's down the road. So the purpose of our request for an amendment to the site plan is the end game, which was Greg's brainchild from before, and I guess we weren't ready to bring that before you because there were a lot of moving parts that we needed to make sure that we were able to nail down. The applicant is now very confident that we will be able to generate or prepare and provide the various easements and land swaps to achieve that Lone Street cut through so that you won't have to make that left-hand turn on Lone Street onto Plain Street. So in order to do that, we are reducing the parking area, but the plan before you this evening meets or exceeds the required dimensional requirements and also the WRPD requirements. For example, the lot area required is 40,000. We have it approved at 136 and change. It will go down in the future to 74, but right now there is no change. All of the other dimensional requirements in this letter are met or exceeded and not being changed with the exception of the impervious area, which I know the board is always concerned about in the Water Resource Protection District. The requirement is 60. It was approved at 58.3. It will go down to 43% for this modification of the site plan, and then it will go back up to 57.6. It should be noted that the 57.6 plan contemplates a land swap or exchange and then a reservation of open space with the town. We are expecting to be able to donate through the Martin Corporation a sliver of land that is in between the new town land and, of course, the 985 site. So that is how that plays out as far as that goes. Now, another big one for site plan approval is parking. 45 spaces are required. We actually originally approved 122 spaces. We are asking you to approve 79 spaces, still almost double what was required, but nonetheless it's a reduction of what we got approved the first time. 79 will be the eventual number when we come back with the full subdivision to permit the light. So if you would, the other issue is before you this evening is also a site plan modification plan set done by Merrill Engineering, and you can see how, what I want to point out though specifically is, if I can do this, is that, yeah, but I think it's is it page 3? There is, I'm having trouble paging that. Oh no, here we go. So, page 2 is existing conditions. Page 3.
Be the modification layout.
That's going to be like the proposed site plan, page 3. Can you do it?
I was going to say, Steve, do you want to have Deb do it?
Yeah, my computer's going really slow. Yeah. That'd be great. So what I'm getting at, folks, is that while there is a concept plan for the subdivision, the future subdivision, to access the signalized intersection through our property and then across Martin's property, we're not asking you to approve that tonight. We're just showing that to you for informational purposes so that you understand why we're sort of pulling back or pulling north. The development of our property to allow for the eventual creation of this Lone Street cut through. Now, we all know, I mean, it's pretty obvious why we're doing this, because in order for us to spend the money to put all that infrastructure in at the rear of the property that was contemplated originally without the cut through, all of that would mostly have to be taken out. So it doesn't make fiscal sense to go ahead and build all that and then come back after we get the signal approved and then the subdivision plan. So we're anticipating that now. And then there is another tweak to the Lone Street reconfiguration, which we committed to do with the first approval of this. We're still doing it from the driveway connection down to Plain Street, maybe a little bit up. We're just not going to do all of it up to where this cut through is going to be, because again, those infrastructure improvements would be wasted because they will not be part of the second phase, which is this back property. I would defer to Deb to walk you through the plan and answer any questions. I know she's addressed Pat Brennan's letter as well as Ed Eichner's concern about the nitrogen loading, and she is way better at explaining that than me.
Deb Keller with Merrill Engineers. To go through it quickly, as Steve mentioned, previously we had additional parking in this back area here highlighted. As you can see, this would be the future Lone Street connection to the future School Street intersection driveway. Therefore, we pulled back the parking. We've adjusted the drainage. There still is subsurface drainage. We've sized that appropriately to collect and treat all of the water from this portion of the parcel. What will happen in the future as we go through, we will address the additional drainage that the Lone Street connector roadway will generate through the definitive subdivision filing and incorporate that into the roadway design moving forward. Everything else is, as Steve mentioned, here's a cleaner copy of what we're looking at for approval currently. So that basically until we get through the design and permitting of the Lone Street connector, the back portion of this parcel will be not built on. We are proposing a construction fence to help make sure that there's no expansion and keeping the ultimate property intact. Again, it's pretty straightforward with the parking as we've described. We do have a retaining wall along this the rear property again, and that goes hand in hand with the Lone Street connector and making sure that we can meet grades along the roadway connector as well as maintaining grades around the existing structure on the current site. I think that covers everything that we're looking for.
That sums up the site plan changes, and of course the WRPD special permit, as it relates to nitrogen loading, and that is Deb is explained as being met. But we're not changing any of the things we discussed last time with respect to the interior layout, the handling of any of the liquids. All that stuff remains the same. There's no change here. This is strictly a site squeezing or reduction so that we can save money and then eventually put this this connecting road through.
Okay, Greg, any comments from you right now?
Nope, they pretty much summed it. I don't know if Pat's still on, but it took a little while on the nitrogen loading, but Ed Eichner, sorry, that everything is fine on the nitrogen loading.
Okay, Pat, anything to add besides that?
No, I'd just repeat what Deb said, that, you know, the drainage on their site that they're developing still works fine, and they just, you know, they obviously have to design the drainage for the future road and any development on that lot 5B, which would be the lot behind or to the south of the new road. But other than that, everything else was good, and the reduction in parking, but they still meet the required zone, the parking required by zoning. So really nothing from my standpoint right now.
Okay, thank you, Pat. Anyone from the board have any questions or comments?
Yeah, Mike, thanks. I've got a question here. So if you can go to the proposed site plan that shows the new drive.
Sure.
Yeah. So the east entrance or exit from the parking lot, is that two-way drive back out to the proposed roadway?
This
Or is
here,
that one? Yes, yes.
this is a one-way in. So when the
Okay.
signal is installed, this will be a one-way in. And what will happen is they'll have full circulation around the building, and the exit will be here onto the Lone Street connector, back down to the School Street intersection. So we're looking
Okay,
to try
thank
to loop that circulation.
Nick,
Great, thanks.
Nick,
Nick,
we
there's a lot of
also,
discussion with the DPW about queuing on that roadway back up to their property with their driveway with the big truck. So this really made a lot of sense to not try to go out of our driveway and make a left. at that point.
Yep, agreed.
Nick, I was gonna say the same thing.
Thank you.
I like that, Steve.
Okay, anything else from the board at all before I go to the public? Okay, seeing none, is there anyone here that, from the public that would like to comment? Now is the time.
And Mike, the 6 that shows up on chat has already been discussed. So there's nobody at the moment waiting on chat for any kind of comments.
Okay,
And I don't see any hands up on the participants.
okay. So are we ready for a motion on this, Greg? We're all set?
I believe you guys can go ahead with the motion.
Okay, and we're approving, I gotta.
Special permit and site plan modifications.
Say that one more time?
Special permit and site plan modifications.
Okay, I'm gonna make a motion that we approve the special permit and site plan modifications as discussed here tonight. Is there a second?
Second, Katie O'Donnell. Aye, Katie O'Donnell.
Fred?
Fred Monaco, aye.
Kevin?
Kevin Cantwell, aye.
Nick?
Nick Papastratus, aye.
And Mike Viviano, aye. Okay, Steve, thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone. It was good to see everyone.
Thanks.
Okay, good night. All right, looks like we're moving on to.
Mike, you need to close the public hearing?
Oh, I'll make a motion that we close that public hearing. Is there a second?
Second, Katie O'Donnell. Aye, Katie O'Donnell.
Aye, Fred Monaco.
Fred?
Aye, Kevin
Kevin.
Cantwell.
Nick?
Nick Papastratus, aye.
And Mike Viviano, aye. So the hearing is now closed. So we're gonna move on to, I'll make a motion that we open up the Beaver Crossing minor modification and lot release request.
Second, Katie O'Donnell. Aye, Katie O'Donnell.
Aye, Fred Monaco.
Kevin?
Mike, it's actually not a public hearing yet. There was a request for the minor modification. It's a request for a lot release primarily right now. It does not need a public hearing vote.
Okay,
Sorry.
then we will
That's it.
disregard the last motion made.
And
Someone here
Laura,
for Beaver Crossing?
and Laura is here to speak for Beaver Crossing, I believe.
Okay. Laura, you're up. And you're on mute.
Hi,
There we
you
go.
guys hear me?
We got you.
Okay, awesome. Thanks for having me. So, oh, sorry, Steve's off camera. So I just wanted to thank you guys for having me and just let you know that we, as you've probably heard before, have been up against supply chain problems and labor crisis issues where we weren't able to get stuff done in time. So the fencing, I had submitted a letter. Have you all seen that?
Greg, we received the letter?
It is in the packet. So Laura, the
Yes.
first request is for the lot releases pending pavement tomorrow.
Right, I would refer to Pat Brennan, because I know that he's been there and he has some information.
Well, I'll try to sum it quickly for the board. So,
Okay.
the request is, two different requests first. The first
Right.
request was lot releases. They have been waiting to get the pavement in, supposedly it's going to be paved tomorrow. So their request is for the board to, grant a conditional vote for lot release based on the paving actually happening, Pat double checking. Pat has already provided them a cost estimate to complete, and them providing the board with the check for the cost estimate to complete. And I believe the amount should be in that packet. So that's the first request, is for the board to provide a conditional vote for lot releases. The paving had been delayed. Leo Stickney had come in today from Cobra, and he said that the paving was to happen tomorrow. By having a conditional vote, even if it doesn't happen tomorrow, but it happens Wednesday or Thursday, they're still in process and wouldn't have to wait for another board meeting if she meets those conditions. Is that fair, Laura?
Yeah, that's fair. So, and then what about the second request?
The second request is for the delay, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, the minor modification to allow the split rail fence to be installed later because of the material shortages, and that you were going to put in the concrete bounds, and then is it the post for the split rail fence, or is it just
Yes,
post?
so would be able to put in the post with the signage that says conservation restricted area, but it just won't be the rails.
It won't have the rails. Staff is okay with that as a minor modification.
Eventually, the rails will go up once the supplies are in, right?
Correct, yes, of course.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, anyone have any issues with this on the board at all, or questions? Okay, seeing none, anyone from the public here for this? Okay, I don't see either. So I'm going to make a motion that we grant the minor modification request. We'll start with that one. And we release the lots after the surety check has come in and the paving is completed and checked by Pat. Is there anything else to that motion, Greg?
Nope, that covers it.
Okay, is there a second?
Second, Katie O'Donnell. Aye, Katie O'Donnell.
Aye, Fred Monaco.
Kevin Cantwell, aye.
Nick?
Nick Papastratus, aye.
And Mike Viviano, aye. So, all set, Laura?
Thank you guys so much.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, next is an A&R on Birch Road.
Actually, next is Horseshoe Farm security release.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yep, sorry, we're gonna move on to the surety release for Horseshoe Farm.
And Paul Gallagher is here, I believe, for that.
Okay,
Hello, everyone. Jack Spur's on the line as well on John's iPhone. So Jack,
Okay.
I'll let Jack do the speaking. Thank you very much.
thank you. I don't know if Jack's
I
talking.
think he's
but Paul's
muted.
not.
Is Jack John's
Oh.
iPhone?
He's muted.
I will jump in, and then if Paul or Jack need to correct me, I
Hello.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, somehow I lost my connection on the iPhone, but I am here. This is Jack Spur, A.W. Perry.
Okay, go ahead, Jack.
Okay, I sent a email and letter to Greg back at the beginning of June, which I think is self-explanatory. To our knowledge, we've done all of the work required. both should be by the town and also by the homeowners association. Along with that letter, I attached an email from the trustees that basically told us that we had finished their list, and so we're therefore requesting the release of our bond, which I think is approximately $10,000.
Okay, so Greg, to Pacquiao to confirm it all?
I guess Pat's still here. Pat hasn't been out, I think, for probably almost a year now, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
They were, last year, they were pretty much done, or maybe 2 years ago now. But the homeowners association had some requests that they kind of held them up. But from my perspective, from your regulations, they were all set a year ago.
Okay, great.
And Mike, we have an email from the Homeowners Association dated May 24th saying that they have addressed their punch list. They did a final walkthrough as well and have agreed all work has been completed except for the installation of the missing pedestals from Verizon, which you acknowledge below.
Okay.
Paul, was there anything else?
No, we're thrilled that the trustees all were happy with our final little items of seating and everything else along the way, but thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone from the board have any questions or comments?
No.
Anyone from the public have any questions or comments? Greg, what's the actual number we're releasing?
It's $10,000, sorry, Mike.
Okay, 10,000 even. All right, I make a motion that we release the surety of $10,000 back to Paul Gallagher, A.W. Perry.
You do, Gary. Thank you. Thank you for the offer.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second?
Second, Katie O'Donnell, aye, Katie O'Donnell.
Aye, Fred Monaco.
Kevin?
Aye, Kevin Cantwell.
Nick?
Nick Papastratus, aye.
And Mike Viviano, aye. All right, all set. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you very much, gentlemen. It's been great working with you. Thank you.
Very much so. Thank you.
Yeah,
Okay, good night.
I know.
So Mike, now we
Now
have
we're going
Birch
to-
Road A&R.
Okay, great. Is someone here for that?
I don't believe so. There's nobody here, I don't see anybody online. This is Brian Murphy, and what is going on is you have two houses, one on Upland Road, which is, you can see lot 19-8A, lot 19-8B, and lot 19-8C. And then you have a house that's on Buttonwood Road, which is lots 557A, 557A, 557B, and 557C. The plan is to buy both properties, merge lot 198C and lot 557C to make a lot in the middle, and then on each side of that, there will be two additional new lots, lot 19-8B and lot 557B. All three of those lots would have 80 feet of frontage and 10,000 square feet of area, which are requirements in that R3 zone. Birch Road is not constructed. The applicant understands that this A&R plan is not saying these are buildable lots. They would need to come in with a street improvement plan or a street determination plan. I am aware on notes on the A&R plan that lot 19-8A, which has an existing house, my understanding is that house is to be torn down and that there would be a new house on that as well. So the A&R in front of you has frontage an area. Birch Road, however, is not constructed, therefore these lots would not be released if asked by the building department, by the planning board at this time, because it does not have a suitable width, grade, and construction roadway. For the frontage on 19-8B, 19-8C, 557C, which is that combined lot, and then lot 557B. I hope that's clear. It's not the easiest A&R we've ever seen.
All right, I don't have any issues with any of that. Any questions or comments from the board at all?
Yeah, Greg, just to clarify, you said the first lot there, 198A, is a existing dwelling that will be demolished. Is that correct?
I believe that's what the notes on the plan say, yes.
So,
You can see the shed, there's a shed right at the
all
back of
sections
the
will be
property
removed.
line.
Okay. Yeah,
So its setbacks would be,
okay.
that's why I think they're taking that house down.
Yeah, no, that was gonna be my question. So yeah, I guess they do have now I can see the note fairly that says that. Okay. No other comment.
Anyone else on the board? All right, seeing none, I'll make a motion that we approve the A&R as shown here tonight.
Mike,
Second.
actually, we have a member of the public who might have a question.
Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to go to the public. Is there anyone from the public that has questions or comments? If you're on mute, you have to unmute so we can hear you. Is it one person in particular here, Greg?
The person's here, but I guess they don't have a question. I have answered a number of questions today on this subject. So.
Okay. So, seeing no questions from the public?
Hey, Mike, sorry, can I just jump in one more time? I just realized, is this going to be a sequencing issue that shouldn't we? I don't think we can approve this until that dwelling is removed, right? Because otherwise,
No, we've
now
done
we
it
have
a
a
bunch of,
non-conforming.
well, we've done it a bunch of times before, and what we've done is we've not let them do anything on that next lot, you know, so they don't leave that house
On the adjacent
lot next to it, yeah. So that's gonna have to be down, you know, before they do anything, you know, following over there.
As well as
Right.
building a road. Because that
Yeah, and the road's
that
big.
other lot doesn't have frontage on a paved public way yet.
And Nick, I know that house, the
Okay.
house is falling down on itself, so.
Fair enough. I just dawned on me, so thanks for the clarification.
Yeah, nature's taking it down. Okay, seeing no other questions, I'm gonna make a motion that we approve the A&R as written here tonight. Is there a second?
Second, Katie O'Donnell, aye, Katie O'Donnell.
Hi, Fred Monaco.
Hi, Kevin Cantwell.
Nick?
Nick Capistratus, aye.
And Mike Viviano, aye. Okay, so that's all set, and Greg probably needs the clerk to sign that. Who's the clerk now?
Fred,
All right, Fred, good luck. Get the pencils up.
Mike, do you want to go ahead and do the minutes of May 24th while Fred's signing?
Yep, I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of May 24th.
Second, Katie O'Donnell, hi, Katie O'Donnell.
Hi, Fred Monaco.
Hi, Kevin Cantwell.
Nick Capistratus, aye.
And Mike Viviano, aye. Thank you. I can't see my agenda right now because the screen's still shared, so.
Next thing is board staff report. So that's your time.
Okay.
You got any more?
We'll let Greg do that, or Karen, whoever.
I'll start. Karen may have something to add. The two main things on our side is the June 28th meeting we can hold here in the Selectmen's meeting room because now we have to do live meetings. After that, we will be in conflict for all our other Monday nights for the next 6 months. So either we would need to figure out how to reschedule, either another night, or we shift our meetings over to the library and continue to try to do the hybrid Zoom meetings until the governor and the state legislators figure out what they're gonna do with future public meetings in Zoom.
Yeah, I'm fine with going to the library after the next one, not a problem.
All right, so we're gonna need a minimum of 3 members from now on then, and if you guys wanna rotate or something comes up, you know, just so long as we have a minimum of 3, I was told that's what we would need to hold kind of these hybrid meetings.
Yeah, I might not be able to attend on the 28th, just to give everybody a heads up. So if I did, I would have to be a Zoom, so somebody else would have to come in.
Yeah, I'm happy to start coming into the meetings. I didn't know it was an option for us to start getting in there, so.
I'm around, Greg.
Okay. All right, so I will I'll start putting in for our meetings to be over at the library until we hear otherwise from the state legislators and stuff.
Okay, thank
And
you.
we'll keep the same dates, we're just gonna shift it over to the library. It is a little extra work, and we're still learning on the hybrid side, so sorry if things have not been as smooth as they could have been tonight. The second thing is we have a non-compliance issue that we had talked about before on a property on Plain Street near the school. The building commissioner had tried the soft approach for 30 days, has not gotten a response. He wanted to know if the board wanted him to take zoning violation, meaning they're not in compliance with their conditions of their special permit for WRPD. He wants to know if the board wants to go ahead and with an official request for enforcement.
Yeah, I don't see why not at this point.
Okay, so I will let him know that
Agreed.
he should go
Yeah.
forward. All right, Karen, do we have anything else that we're supposed to be?
We have the Brant Rock meeting tomorrow night.
There you go. So there's a rapid response
Local Rapid Recovery Program
grant meeting. I'm in Grand Rock at Haddad's live at 6 p.m.
Yes.
To talk about the consultant's recommendations and to see if the public has additional recommendations that they would like to put forward for the Brant Rock business area in particular.
Okay?
And that would be in person.
I thought I said in person.
We
or
would
not.
like everyone to come.
We would stress that we would like any member of the public that would like to attend, that they should please come and attend. Light refreshments will be served upstairs at Haddad's in the function room. And with that, I think that's it from the board side, I mean on the staff side.
Anyone on the board have anything to add?
Nope.
No, we're good.
No.
Okay, seeing none, I'll do roll call to close the meeting. Make a motion, we close the meeting. Is there a second?
Second, Katie O'Donnell, aye. Katie O'Donnell?
Hi, Fred Monaco.
Aye, Kevin Cantwell.
Nick Papastratus, aye.
And Mike Viviano, aye. Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
you.